Hello, hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever the sun is looking like for you right now. We are bringing you some Link to the Past Randomizer Tournament Group B action. We've got the lower bracket matchup here between Benteezy, who joined the tournament late after a drop and had a very close series with the reigning champion Jet, and Skipsy, who took an 0-2 loss against Tato in the first round to set up this do-or-die series. Calling this match today, I am Reg. I'm joined by Hammer Bro. So, Hammer, we're playing the hard standard. Why don't you tell us what we're not going to be seeing today?
Well, if this is anything like the others, a bunch of the other seeds I've seen, we're not going to be seeing the boots. But that's not actually that's not by design. That's just rando being rando. Hard mode means that we are not going to be seeing a bunch of health. We cap out at 14. So 14 hearts all we're going to get. We're not going to be seeing any changes of clothing at all. No blue mail, no red mail, no silvers while we're on that kick, and no butter sword. We do still have half magic. We still have Kate. We still have Kate of Berna. So there are some options for safeties. All 4 bottles are also in play. But we are not going to be seeing any mail upgrades. No silvers and no butter are the big ones.
Yep. And it's one of those things. All those things, they still exist. They're in the pool. You can find them. Leads to some very humorous things around the silver arrows because once you cap out, all of the higher level stuff just gets replaced by those green 20 rupees that the runners have come to know and love over the past, month and a half or so? Almost 2 months now?
I'm not sure they know them anymore. I feel like they've probably forgotten them at this point.
They know the green 20s, though, that took their place.
Absolutely. Yeah. I missed what Uncle said. There was something about go mode. Nice hook shot.
That's pretty convenient to find. It doesn't actually help that much, but you can use it. Could have used it like right there, just as a movement option. And
yes,
done some guards.
That is yes. It also helps with that. Depending on what we end up getting here for our item of murdering preference out of Uncle, we may or may not see an extra drop possibility because, well, bombs are the early choice of escape if you can get them. You need one to get to the back. There's 3 chests there. Potentially only 2 items if the map is stuck back there, but we're not going to know. Okay, let's have a bow and then a cane of Berna. That's one way to do it, I guess.
Yeah, unfortunately for that cane of Berna, the only magic we've got is those 2 small plots. We also saw the stun prize was a blue rupee. Not great either. But we haven't seen any guard kills yet that were on the normal prize pack, especially since that one from Benteezy didn't drop anything. So no word on what drops we'll be seeing from the guards yet.
And that's a good point. There's 2 main prize packs that we can get our hands on at this point. One of them is going to be the guards, and that prize pack is also shared by our wonderful snake friends, lovingly called the ropes. And there's the other prize pack that we're going to see a little bit of if needed is the rats. So if one of those is either miscellaneous and we get a little bit of luck, or we have just a full-on bomb pack, then we'll be able to get our hands on some bombs. If not, we're going to be either hoping to pull some from a chest or just coming back here later.
Benteezy did get a small magic drop there as the first item drop in the pool, so there is a single bomb to be had quite deep in the pool. Not sure how worth that'll be to farm. I mean, obviously it's 3 checks, so you want to, but that is deep, especially when the pool only advances at a 50-50 rate.
Isn't it 4 or 5 checks in, I want to say?
No, it is 1 bomb as the 6th drop in the small magic pool. Benteezy is now 4 drops into that. I don't think Skipsy's actually into that pool at all yet, doesn't know about it. Now, I do want to say, Benteezy making very good use of the hook shot here. Both grabbing onto that torch earlier on, and then there to grab the key.
Yeah, hookshot is exceptionally useful, especially in the non-boot days. We could end up with boots somewhere relatively early here, and that would make hookshot somewhat obsolete as a movement tool, but if we don't have boots, hookshot is the only way to go, at least kind of fast.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the speed that the hookshot pulls you in is actually pretty much the same speed as the boots. I could be misremembering here, but I think it's 4 pixels per frame, which is the same as the boots. But you don't have that wind-up time. Instead, you've got the travel time of the hook, which essentially just double or cuts that in half, because it's got to go all the way out and then pull you all the distance. But that still does make it a better movement option than walking.
Yeah, and that's even if you're insane at pumping.
Wow, very unlucky they're not getting a single drop from all 3 of those guards. Benteezy's down to 9 arrows. The hookshot does kill rats, though, so not going to be too worried about the key rat, but desperately trying to just advance the prize pack to get a bomb there and nothing doing. That was, what, 5 straight kills without a drop?
Yeah, we are 0 for 5, which of those of you who don't feel like dealing with powers of 2 in your head, that's about a 1 in 32 chance.
The good news is that Benteezy can kill the snakes in this room Skipsy's in now. Skipsy getting the first drop in the prize pool. A little late to farm that out, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, Skipsy would have to get really, really, really lucky here to even have a chance.
Benteezy's arrows not cooperating with him. Switching over to the Cane of Burna. Trying to. Yeah, out of arrows. Gonna use that magic there. Gonna have to rely on hookshot for the key rat at this point, while Skipsy just snipes it with an arrow. Oh, snake kills ropes? I didn't realize that. I thought it stunned them.
No, it does, which is why I was somewhat confused by Benteezy using the bow. I think it was one of those situations where he was not thinking about the fact that the hookshot kills the ropes, or forgot that he had the hookshot for a moment, and then walked in that room and went, oh yeah, I have that. Let's use that.
Regardless, it is a big time loss here compared to Skipsy already being out in the sanctuary, getting a moon pearl for it, but Benteezy does have that bomb. Is going to get to make these 3 checks that Skipsy could not.
Yeah, and we call it a big time loss, but, well, never mind. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah, Skipsy will show back up at that check later with the gloves. And honestly, it probably does not come out as bad for Benteezy as it looks here, since Skipsy does have to go back for it. But you're coming out of the sewers a full probably 45 seconds behind. That feels kind of bad. I'll tell you what doesn't feel bad is that bush crab.
Dude, no kidding. I'll take those 20s any day. Like the green 20s, you can pass me up with those. I don't really want to see those. But those red 20s out of a bush crab early, yes, give me all of those, please. Speaking of red things, yeah, there's Lumberjack, red boomerang.
Yep. Not going to go kill Aghanim for that, but Skipsy making that check means that there's a second bush crab here to get those red rupees off of. That bumps it, tosses the bush, kills it. Bit unfortunate, but 183 rupees is a good number for this point. I don't know if Skipsy checked the tree pull, saw those blue rupees, or is about to do it here, but regardless, both runners over 100 rupees at this point. Both runners on 0 bombs, too. So, a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and that could get kind of annoying, especially as neither of them have boots or glove to potentially pull a late bomb on a hero.
Yep, Benteezy is checking the lower tier tree pool, is rewarded with bombs. Skipsy did not check that. He's going to go just check the tavern and then buy bombs. But meanwhile, Benteezy is going to carry 4 of them into the village. That is the perfect number for all the checks, and can just buy bombs afterwards. No real loss.
Absolutely. The third potential is to just go ahead into Blind's Hut without a bomb and hope that you find one.
It is looking like no on that, though. So, good for Skipsy not having done so. Pulls a 300 out, too, just to as if there were any concerns about paying off the bottle vendor.
At this point, I think we're more worried about Zora.
You're not too worried about Zora until you get to your South Shore checks, or it's in Logic. We're not quite there yet. Sword, though, always a good find. You're never going to cry about having one of those, especially in the super early game where it's just a weapon you don't have to quick swap to if you want to keep your hook shot on.
Yeah, that's a good point. It does make things easier. It also makes dashing a lot more fun if we do happen upon the boots at some point. Because dashing without a sword, and especially with green mail, can be a very precarious situation.
Honestly, the worst part about boots with no sword is that you can't item dash. Like, that just doesn't work. I'm sure many a person has bonked into the hammer pegs trying to do that without a sword.
That's a really good point. That's something that's easy to forget about until you try it and it doesn't work.
Yeah, but not a concern for either of these people here since we already have the sword. Of course, fighter sword, it's not really great as a weapon, but it is usable, doesn't use magic, doesn't use ammo. So, and it'll evolve later in the seed.
Hopefully.
I mean, it has to. We can't beat Ganon with the one we've got.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like some of these runners could figure out a way. All right, so I did not see Desert, but I did see... Oh, never mind. There's 2 5-6s. Wow.
Yep. 4, 5, and 6, all there in the light world.
And a Bombo's on Library. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, we'll come back for that later, maybe. Not coming back for that blue rupee on the race game, so... Both of these runners here pretty much in sync. Benteezy had the much slower bomb farm in Escape, but came out, didn't check Lumberjack to basically make that up and put them in sync, except going for the shovel.
I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought it was quicker to not S&Q there and just head down to the Grove and pull the shovel, but both runners doing a save and quit here, and Benteezy coming in for the dig spot. I guess I was wrong about that?
I don't know. I also thought it was faster to just walk to the dig spot from there, but I don't know. I also, shout outs to that tree that Benteezy just tried to hook, looked like should have hooked, and just did not. I hate that tree.
There are a handful of those, though, and they are all in the southernmost portion of the screen as Skipsy pulls another 300. So now we're not really worried about anything. But yeah, those trees are fake. They don't exist. You will hookshot right through them. And it is super unfortunate.
Yep. Just that particular one, though, stands out to me because often you're not checking the shovel until a bit later in the game. Just anecdotally, it feels like it's rare to see it early. So, it feels like you're likely to have a hook shot by the time you check that a lot of the time. Or maybe it's just me, and I just keep getting caught by that tree as a player.
No, absolutely. That is a good point. You are more likely to see that one early. As we pull a lamp, and Skipsy says, I'm going to leave Ice Rod Cave for now.
Skipsy has the option of going and getting those back 3 chests in the castle that Benteezy already has. So that'll put them back on parity for checks. But Benteezy has the option of going to do a fake flipper play, even or especially after the Ice Rod Cave. Has the bow to do splash deletion if there's something on Zora Ledge, so we can hypothetically get that whole set of items.
That's kind of why I was surprised that Skipsy pulled an S and Q there, because you're sitting in a situation where Ice Rod Cave you can go grab, and then everything else, even if you're not super familiar with the Ancilla delete that you were talking about with that bow, you could still grab all the other 3 items there, and then at least take a look at the ledge.
Yeah, but you know what has even more than 3 items?
The mountain!
Yes! And that lamp put it in logic. I think that's what prompted the save and quit from Skipsy there.
That's fair. We also do have the eastern area, which does have also more than 3 items and is fully clearable.
That is true. The bow and the lamp does mean that dungeon is fully in logic. But we're 2/3 of the way to Dark World access already, so even with no mirror in hand, there is incentive to put off that area, see if it can be combined with Pod somehow.
This is where Pendant Pod gets all of us.
I mean, honestly, early bow, early lamp, if it's Pendant Pod, I would still like to see runners go into it. So I don't know what I just saw on Benteezy's screen, but it is the standard vanilla setup for fake flippers. Gonna go to Hobo first, and then go down to Sora.
Benteezy using the lesser-known voodoo water trick, where in order to first fake flipper, you must pretend like there's water on land. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what that was. I've done it a couple of times, but I have no idea how it works. Benteezy skipping Hobo. Just
I'm a liar.
Do what?
I lied. Sorry. I said Benteezy was going to do Hobo, and then didn't.
Hey, we did see a sword on top of Spec Rock, so, if we can get a mirror on hand at any given point soon, that sword could upgrade, like you mentioned before.
Yep. Master Sword's still pretty mediocre as a weapon, but it is roughly twice as good as Fighter Sword as long as you're not fighting light world bosses.
Yeah, that's a cruel little bit of planning there. Hey, we're gonna have this be twice as good, yeah, but that's not really gonna be effective against any of the bosses here.
And then they put all 3 of those bosses in Ganon's Tower.
They did. That's a good point. Although usually, at least if you're somewhat familiar with the game and not running low percent, you're gonna walk in there with a sword that's not colored blue. Just saying. You're gonna walk in there with a red one.
Or a gold one.
Or a gold one. That's fair.
These guys won't be walking in there with a gold one, but Vanilla might.
Yeah, not today, unfortunately. Hello, Boots!
Yep. Skipsy, honestly, I think that's just enough of a reward for the save and quit out of Mini Moldworm Cave there. It means that Skipsy gets to do Spiral Cave with them. But Benteezy is checking out, unless Spiral Cave has the mitt or the hammer, Skipsy's going to be doing these same checks that Benteezy's doing now in just a few seconds. So Benteezy kind of getting ahead of the route in exchange for not having those boots, which boots are really, really nice in Eastern Palace.
Yeah, it figures. The one dungeon that you can't complete in the vanilla game with the boots, without doing some shenanigans, at the very least, you really wish you'd have them.
Yeah, it's Eastern Palace versus Thieves Town. Which one's better with the boots, in your opinion?
I'm gonna go ahead and say Thieves Town, only because there are so many enemies that having a sword with the boots makes way easier. You can just dash through.
Oh, wow.
Well, you said that. That's on you, buddy. That was not me. That was you. You said it.
I said that it might be there. It's possible for it to be there. I honestly wasn't expecting it with the number of items in the eastern area. But hey, Skipsy's got Dark World access. Skipsy can walk over to Hera now, too. And we might just see an empty Eastern Palace aside from the crystal at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing Reg realize his true form as a commentator witch duo. Did we get a check of floating island? I don't recall.
Yes, we did. It was a heart.
Also, I have no idea how that wonderful, wonderful mountain potato, because I've completely forgotten what they're called.
I mean, that's probably a better name for them than the actual name. Anyways, Skipsy gonna check this chest here and then presumably Herapot. Big key means that there's no risk of missing out on items unless one's in the basement and you gotta do it anyways. But super speed is set up, gonna run down towards the pod at some rate. And then hopefully clip into it, hook shot, fall in, and warp up to the top.
Yeah, the super speed setup is really, really difficult. And there you go, nicely done.
Yeah, it's a little bit finicky, as we kind of saw there. But if you do it and you get it immediately, it is faster than waiting for bombs to explode by a fair bit.
Oh wow, okay. Well, there's both of our items.
Yeah, no ice rod hunt today. Always nice.
Yeah, this is where we get the dark. Well, that was what? Greg, what happened?
Yeah, the boots. Boots happen.
Excellent descriptor. We do have some synced boss fights here.
Very clean, quick kill on the Armos from Benteezy. 3 hammer hits to Moldorm for Skipsy. And that's going to be mostly synced crystal pickups.
Yeah, synced maps as well. Both bosses handing us our maps for the respective dungeons. And yeah, nothing in Eastern whatsoever. So 20 minutes in.
Benteezy left an item at Vanilla Big Key. Tried to gamble it, lost.
Benteezy.
Skipsy is not taking the Spike Cave check, which, as chat points out, is in logic right now. I believe Cane of Berna alone puts that in logic for the invincibility side of things.
Yeah, it's not fun. I don't know. On some level, I don't blame Skipsy because, you know, it's Spike Cave. Who wants to do Spike Cave? But on the other hand, I don't know. I don't really want to come back here and do Spike Cave in an hour and a half once I've cleared everything else.
Like, my view is, you were going to save and quit anyways, you just got a refill and you're literally right there. But at the same time, that might not really be a check Skipsy was thinking much about, as Skipsy realizes out of bombs, needs to go buy some before we can actually check Hype Cave.
I'm just going to say, I'm going to laugh really hard if our Hype Cave buddy hands us 3 bombs.
I'm going to laugh harder if he hands us 10.
Oh, man. I forgot that was an option. Good call.
Yeah, but regardless, I think Skipsy was looking ahead to how they wanted to route the Dark World. And then Spike Cave just kind of slipped out of mind there. Which is unfortunate, but how it is. And that's a pretty good cave right there.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. The only thing that's even kind of unfortunate about that as we get a quick map check here. So we have pendants in our 3, 4, and 5 dungeons: Skullwoods, Thieves Town, and Ice Palace. Ice Palace being green. So we don't have to worry about pendant pod, actually. But the only thing that kind of sucks about that grab of the mitts there is that you couldn't do the mountain in one shot, which is somewhat unfortunate, but it is what it is. It also gives Skipsy another opportunity to do Spike Cave later, if in fact there's something else up the mountain.
Yep. I was interested in whether pulling those mitts there would pull Skipsy to the west side of the world instead of the east, because it meant that Skipsy could get to the village from the south. But sticking to the pod plan for now. And then probably just going to do the village afterwards if I had to guess. Of course, no mirror means that Skipsy not going for that empty eastern palace right now. Unless it's in pod.
Yeah, I don't know. The problem with doing it this way is that you're either somewhat orphaning North Dark World or somewhat orphaning like Dig Game and the like. It's probably going to be North Dark World stuff that gets orphaned, unless Skipsy rolls out of here and dashes all the way back up to Catfish and then dashes across. That would fix that problem, but that also takes a lot of time, especially since Skipsy already went up to the mirror.
Yeah, I don't expect that, but what I might expect here is actually Skipsy save and quit out of here. And then if the mirror is found, south route it from south of Link's house back to the village, checking Stumpy Dig Game on the way, grabbing the smith, and then doing the rest. Or just orphaning Graveyard Ledge and doing the rest if there is no mirror. Just orphan Graveyard Ledge, which sucks to say, but is probably what most people would do, I think, in this situation.
Yeah, you take Graveyard Ledge and then Catfish, and you just kind of go, well, I hope nothing's there.
Yep, then if something is there, then you just run there later with the mirror. And if the mirror's on Catfish, you just sort of cry.
Basically. The hope is that you'd be able to do that along with like a Pyramid Fairy check later on in the game if required.
No, I'm thinking like Bumper Ledge to Graveyard Ledge to Catfish. Straight across the north side of the world.
That's fair, that would work too. I normally come up from the south when I can with that, because then I can pair it in with Pyramid Fairy, but that would be another way if you don't have the 5/6s.
Yeah, although we are just a flute or a book away from being able to get our other 5/6, so that is definitely a valid option. And that mushroom is a fetch quest that would make a lot of the strouting we were just talking about a little nicer if we had the mirror, but we don't.
It's also your favorite safety, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, something like that. Benteezy is not going to Hera. Save and quit, gonna be straight to the Dark World there. Gonna be missing out on that Ice Rod and that 5/6 crystal, but neither of them are looking immediately super useful. So might not be too bad, especially because that is a reason for Benteezy to go back up the mountain with the mitts he's about to get sooner rather than later.
That's a good point. On the flip side, we are only potentially 2 items away from having access to fully complete Turtle Rock, so that's something to think about too.
3 at minimum, we need a medallion too.
Yep, but it could be Bombos.
Oh, yeah, we do know where that one is. That's on the library, right?
And now it's within logic, which means that even without the Fire Rod, we could potentially have a Green Pendant Ice Palace within play here too already, which is another not fun thing to think about.
Yeah, that one's not logical without the flippers, but still reachable, still clearable out of logic. Could be good.
That's a good point. Forgot about the flippers. Hopefully they'll show up here and then I'll just look like a witch.
Looks like Benteezy's gonna take the same pyramid in the pod play that Skipsy is currently on, so not getting to see what's in the Village of Outcasts area quite yet. Which, I mean, Pendant Skull Woods, Pendant Thieves Town just makes that area a lot less appealing in general, but...
Yeah, I can definitely see the desire to not want to do that yet. It's one of those situations where you don't want to have to double dip the area if you don't have to. So I feel like our runners are going to want to go ahead and clear all this stuff first, so then they can make a much more informed decision about the Village of Outcasts area. Like, okay, I don't have a whole lot left. So let's go ahead and jump into Skullwoods. Let's go ahead and do at least the front four of Thieves Town, because I know that my options are limited.
Yep. Skipsy did most of the work setting up that death warp before the big chest there. Grabbed the chest with a heart and a half, so needed a couple hits still. But death warping there is a very good substitute for the mirror, especially if you're going to King Helmasaur right afterwards. And I think if I saw correctly, we have seen the map in the compass here, which means Helmasaur should have an item. Even if not, though, it is a crystal, so we gotta do it anyways.
As per usual, when commentating with you, I let you pay attention to the important things. I just kind of sit here and smile.
Yeah. The annoying part about Palace of Darkness, it's actually like several other dungeons, actually. There is just this big lull in the back, where it's a bunch of rooms and a fair bit of combat, but no checks. Eastern does it, Desert does it, Pod does it. Skullwoods kind of does it, depending on how you look at the bridge. Meyer does it. That's
Yeah,
like dungeons right there.
Meyer definitely does it. Turtle Rock does it, but then it throws like Laser Bridge right at the end. But if you ignore Laser Bridge, there's quite a bit of a lull. It's more in the middle though, because you've got Lava Chest and then the big key chest, which is several rooms away. And even that's only one item, and then you have another couple rooms and a bunch of pipe shenanigans, and then you have one more chest in Crystal Roller Room. And then you have Laser Bridge, which completely destroys the entire thing.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, and just talk about Ice Palace without the Can of Samaria.
I'd really rather not, if it's all the same to you.
That's fine. So that's Helmasaur's helmet off. Skipsy going for Master Sword slashes there after getting a hammer hit and a spin, so just needed 4, not too bad. Benteezy gets rejected by the Beetles, has to reset the room. Helmasaur just a piece of heart. So Pod was a mushroom and nothing else? Seemed silly.
Yeah, Pod was a mushroom, and the funny part is that Pod was a mushroom more than Eastern. So absolutely nothing in this area.
Yeah, early bow, early lamp, early, well, not quite early hammer, but still there. And not leading to anything unless this mushroom is progression. Oh, chat saying bottle too, right? That's a fetch quest.
Yep, 2 fetch quests in Pod.
And it looks like Skipsy is taking the run out, so not going to Orphan Catfish here. Honestly, I think this makes sense after Pod came up completely dry. You don't expect that with the items you had going into it and how early it is.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where even if Pod were a pendant, a lot of runners would be leaning towards doing it just because it seems like the seed just screamed at you, hey, get over there, the whole thing's in logic too, just go ahead and do it. Okay, and then it hands you a mushroom and a bottle.
Yep. On Benteezy's side, we did see Hammer Jump. Had the big key in hand, had extra small key in hand. No reason not to. It's pretty fast.
Beer around Catfish would be an exceptional thing. But no, just a piece of heart. And yeah, there's an S&Q, and that makes sense, because without Mirror, you can't really do anything other than dash your butt all the way over to Village of Outcasts. So, might as well just do it from here.
And I think that's where Skipsy is going.
Yeah, probably a check of the boots locations here first, and then we're just going to meander our way over that way, just like you said.
Yeah, doing the boots checks here makes sense, especially without the mirror. But between having them and Catfish already done, that does make Graveyard Ledge feel awful.
Yeah, absolutely. Graveyard Ledge is one of those things that generally feels somewhat awful to begin with, even if the routing is as good as it can be. But if you're in a situation like this, yes, the potions are that way and waterfall's that way, just so you know. But if you head into a situation where there's just nothing else in the area, that's going to feel real bad.
And that is the future that Skipsy chose. So we'll have to live with it, see when the mirror shows up. Okay. Okay. So, Skipsy, what's your next move?
So you're saying this routing choice could have grave consequences?
I may or may not be saying that. The interesting thing here is that Skipsy could choose to skip Bonk Rocks on the way over to the village, and then just loop that in with Bumper Ledge and the Graveyard Ledge. Make it feel a little less bad. Gonna do Eastern first, though.
So, interesting thought here. Could Skipsy go Eastern Palace and then just go to the Mirror Portal? Go to the portal there and then just hookshot across and do Graveyard Ledge and then do Bonk Rocks that way? Like, I don't think it's going to happen. It's just kind of an interesting thought.
It's a thought. Seems slow to me, though, compared to saving and quitting and going to the village. Also, Benteezy did have a really nice Helmasaur fight over there.
Yeah, that was one of those blink and you miss it fights. So if you blinked, you might have missed it.
Yeah, especially with Skipsy getting the mirror and us trying to figure out what it really meant for the routing. I'm sorry, Benteezy.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, seeing Skipsy like dash down to Eastern Palace was really confusing to me, honestly. I was sitting here going, what are you... I don't ever even see these screens. What's going on?
Play more vanilla, man. And you see those screens every run. At least everyone that doesn't die to ball and Vanguard.
I have 3, well, I guess 2 letters and an ampersand for you as a reason that I don't play vanilla.
S and Q?
S and Q, there it is.
Yeah, but then you don't get to see all those fun little screens that the developers put in there and clearly intended you to play that you're just rejecting.
I play Crossworld, that way I can see most of the screens and I still get my S and Qs.
Okay, that's fair.
Anyways, Benteezy is finally coming back here to go ahead and knock out Hera. Not going to get anything other than the Ice Rod, which still is not imminently useful unless Dark Death Mountain is absolutely loaded.
Dark Death Mountain is 6 items. We only need 3 of them to turn up properly for Benteezy to be able to do Turtle Rock.
Actually, it's 7 items, because we still haven't seen Spike Cave either. And we'd have to S and Q anyways, because we don't have a mirror on that side.
Oh yeah, you're right. And Benteezy showing off the fickleness of Super Speed Herapot. Just sort of runs at it until it works. But here we go, item number 1. Gonna run around the chest to not get hit by that spark. And item number 2.
You know, I completely missed the first time around that half magic wasn't Eastern.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not progression. It's not literally nothing, though, I guess. That's something.
Oh! Benteezy just missing that double drop down hole there. Moldorm is not seeming to be as friendly.
Yeah, definitely not here, but Master Sword spins do the same as Hammer in terms of damage, so that's 3 hits either way. No, actually, Benteezy's got the crystal lead with that. Not for very long, because Skipsy is in the back of Eastern Palace, all these rooms with no checks. But it is a very brief 3-2 crystal lead. And, oh, Benteezy never checked Spectral Rock earlier. But is this going to be Spike Cave into the rest of the Dark Mountain, or just hook shot back across the bridge?
Okay, so Spike Cave can go heck itself, because, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be like you said earlier, and just do Spike Cave as the last check, because there is no mirror for Benteezy.
That's a good point.
I am kind of, like, I shouldn't say this, but I am kind of sad that Benteezy wasn't a bit slower in Eastern Palace, because earlier we had Skipsy on Moldor and Benteezy on Armos. Could have had the other way around here.
That's fair. We could have had, like, double synced crystal grabs for the same boss, just flipped.
Yeah, we didn't, and it's for the best that Benteezy didn't go slow for that. Because going slow is not good, especially when you're racing.
So, interestingly enough here, it looks like we're going to get that Spike Cave check from Skipsy.
Skipsy's getting the Tempered Sword, has the mirror. We do see that Bombos comes into play right now, though. It opens Turtle Rock for us.
I mean, yeah, of course, he's going after that Tempered Sword, but at this point, do you not just go check Spike Cave? I mean, it's
You do the rest of the Dark Mountain first.
Right.
And then you might come back for it afterwards. If you don't, it's super isolated. But wow, Dark Mountain empty. Like, just actually straight up.
Yeah, I think we got something like 100 rupees, and that's about it. Oh, Benteezy having to be careful there. Lionel's only take damage from Tempered Sword and above. And, yeah, Benteezy not having a way to do any damage other than that hammer.
Yeah, did you see that hammer dash, though?
Oh, it was a brilliant hammer dash. I'm just saying, if he had mistimed it, he'd have been hammer toast.
But he got it, so it's awesome.
I don't know. I always have to, like, I don't know. I just had the feeling of, like, oh, boy. And I just, you know. Oh, wow. Okay, nice fire rod.
Yeah, we're a cane away from being able to full clear Turtle Rock now because we know that Bombos is on the library. I have to imagine Benteezy's going to go grab that here before detouring into the Village of Outcasts, because still no mushroom check means no mirror there.
Yeah, Benteezy forgetting that just for a moment. Oh yeah, I can do. Wait. Okay, yeah, he's doing King's Tomb just from the background. Okay.
Yeah, might take the mushroom over like Skipsy did here, but I don't expect it.
So at this point, oof, that feels bad. That has happened to me more than a handful of times. So at this point, if we go into Village of Outcasts and there's something sitting there, and I don't mean in Thieves Town, I just mean kind of like in the village area. I feel like both of our runners feel relatively bad about that, since, I mean, even with 2 pendants, you kind of don't really want to put off Village of Outcasts for too long.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. But at the same time, the runners prioritizing Eastern Pod and the mountain over it, I think does make sense with it being a double pendant layout. It's not something that everybody would do by any means, so there is a world where you are very rightfully super concerned about that. But it's not the only route that makes sense here. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wasn't arguing that their route was unusual or even bad. I was just saying, you know, if there's something there, you start to think, I could have had this for like half an hour. Dang it.
Yeah, there are definitely. I would be hard pressed to find a way to route the seed that does not make sense. Just with how scattered everything has been.
Alternatively, you'd have a hard time trying to route the seed in such a way that makes perfect sense.
Not wrong. But Rando just sometimes does not make sense. Yeah, I guess chat's asking a little bit about the timing of Benteezy's tempered sword if we assume no other is found. And I've got to imagine, yeah, there's no reason for Benteezy to go back up the mountain without the mirror, unless Kane shows up relatively soon. So I have to imagine that Benteezy will just grab that sword at his convenience, probably when going back to Turtle Rock, but could also just easily do it for Ganon's Tower. I think grabbing it then would still be a time save over just climbing the mountain in the faster way and doing everything with Master Sword. It would definitely be a time save, I just don't know offhand how big of one.
Also, just gonna kind of throw this one out there. That's not Benteezy might not even need that sword to find tempered. There is a 4th sword out there, and it will be tempered for Benteezy. It just means if Skipsy picks it up, it would be 20 rupees.
Yep, also true. But you got to premise your discussion sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very interesting thought. I mean, at this point, in terms of if we're just talking about the sword disadvantage, best case scenario for Benteezy, we pull Soma out of Somewhere Soon, and there's progression in Turtle Rock. That would kind of throw them up there earlier, which means that Benteezy could go get that sword earlier. But outside of there being something in TR, it's probably going to be the last thing checked.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if Samaria is Benteezy's next check, that actually pulls him back up the mountain without the mirror, which means he can't get that sword. It's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah, that's a good point. That mirror was not in a great location.
Yeah, I do think that Benteezy will probably check it after these Dark World check. Well, I say that. If he grabs the Smith, then no. Because it's an easy save and quit to Link's house and just fake Flipper using the Whirlpool portal immediately south of there to check it, even without a flute. But if you're checking the Smith, you're not really going to do that.
Yeah, no, not for quite a bit. We also haven't seen Agata's Cave, which, again, is another one of those checks that, especially without the flute and without the early boots, was just a complete pain in the butt to get to, but we still haven't seen it, and it's still there.
Yeah, that's like the favorite Sphere 1 location to Orphan. I wouldn't be surprised at this point if we literally just saw it as last location, or just after the flute. I think we saw Skipsy go into the first floor of Thieves Town. I didn't catch how many items we got out of there, but it was nothing of real note.
I want to say there were 2, but I might be wrong about that.
2 is pretty average. And it's just frustrating enough that there's no clear incentive to go to the back, but it still feels bad.
Yeah, especially because, as you said, Thieves Town is one of those dungeons that is similar to Eastern and Pod in that, like, there are items in the back, but it's so much extra time to get there. Like, you can run these first 4 really, really quickly. And the last 4 chests, including blind, or even not including blind, is just way more extensive.
Yeah. On the other hand, though, I do think Thieves Town is probably the most balanced dungeon. Oh, we can go do Swamp Palace now on Skipsy's side.
Yep, Swamp Palace is in play, and so is everyone's favorite ice.
Yeah, that is true. We can do Ice Palace, but it being the pendant and Swamp being the crystal, I think we choose Swamp first every time, especially for twice as many items.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no, I mean, I don't want to say there's no way, because I've seen runners pull jukes on us before, but I'm fairly confident in saying that Skipsy's going to be doing Swamp first. There'd be some shenanigans involved if they were doing Ice Palace. Maybe feeling really behind or something similar. Is that going to work?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. I didn't think so either. I was just really confused for a minute there. So I guess...
Yeah, check this cave, run back. Well, either run back, grab it, and save and quit, or just isolate it entirely.
Benteezy having a moment of thought.
Yeah, without the mirror on Benteezy's side, the routing is just a lot dirtier, so to speak. There's a lot of things that you cannot do. Skipsy do dig game earlier? I thought so.
I thought so too. Although it may have been Benteezy that did dig game.
Yeah, maybe. I thought we saw it on both sides, but well, Skipsy not getting that 300. So. And then Benteezy is going to show us Skull Woods here. I'm curious if he'll go straight to the back even though it's a pendant, or try to do the front first because there's more items there. More potential for items there. Skipsy not saving and quitting that purple chest, so it could go. Well, actually, no, wait, I'm all mixed up here. I'm sorry. But, well, Skipsy could have saved and quit the purple chest to Link's house. May have been a bit faster of a walk, but...
Yeah, I feel like it's at least kind of eyeballing the timing. It's 6 of one, half dozen the other, because at one point you don't have to worry about getting back into the Dark World if you're going to do Swamp immediately after.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with that if you didn't. It is a fair bit of extra walking if Skipsy wants to go into Swamp Palace, which I think he does at this point.
I would assume so. It's about the only thing we have left that isn't potentially a complete and total waste of time, being that, you know, Swamp is going to give you that crystal.
Yep. Meanwhile, Benteezy's just in the back of Skull Woods, is only going to give him a pendant if he kills them off.
Yeah, we've seen one item so far being a heart from that middle chest. Obviously, this chest here giving us a compass, and then we're probably going to see a moth kill if I had to guess, but he might just turn around and go back to the front.
Yep, going for the moth here. Because the thing to note, like, we're only missing the cane and the flute for Go. Well, I say that. We might be missing Quake for Meyer, too. So, at most, 3 items. And Ted is... We've got all the items we need to logically reach it. I say that there are edge cases for Cane of Samaria and Ice Palace. But that's an edge case.
Yeah, it's a good point. If we end up clearing Ice Palace and Cold Stare drops the key, then yeah, we don't have to worry about Ted being Cane of Samaria at the very least. But
it could still be the flute or the Quake medallion, though. And who knows if we need Quake, but flute we absolutely need.
Yeah, flute is the only way to get to Meyer. We also, depending on what's sitting in desert, might need the book.
Yes,
obviously
would get us desert access as well, though. So
right,
only if it shows up first.
Exactly. It's another one of those edge cases, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, and for chat asking where the mirror was on the mushroom turn-in. Mushroom being in Palace of Darkness, and that being the only even like remotely progression looking item in the entire Eastern Pod area, where the game gave us bow on Uncle and lamp also in Sphere 1, and everything else relatively early as well. So kind of a big deal, but not quite what you would expect from Pod that early.
Yeah, it was really interesting because the seed all but screamed at you to get your butt over to the eastern area. Right now, please and thank you. And then basically gave you nothing for it, outside of the mushroom turning into the mirror.
And both runners got there pretty early, but just Benteezy has not yet been to turn in that fetch quest. Meanwhile, Skipsy did so. Well, there's a cane. Gone.
So this is interesting. Not only does this open up the mouth, which we're obviously going to see here, and probably a full Turtle Rock clear, as well as anything else Benteezy can get his hands on. This also opens up the potential for a fake powder.
Only for Benteezy, though, because
Yes.
still has that mushroom. Skipsy does not.
Yep, and that could get really interesting.
Yeah, but if you're rooting for Benteezy here, as chat's already said, you want Mimic Cave to be the junkiest junk to ever junk. If there's an item there, Benteezy is never getting it.
Yeah, and that's to the point of there's probably going to be a forfeit before it's grabbed. Like, not a, I'm going to last location this. That's bad enough that I don't even think we'd see it, honestly, at all.
Meanwhile, Swamp, well, Skipsy didn't go to left side. I don't know how many items are there, but pretty empty for not left side checks. We'll see if he goes back in. There are 2 items to be had. Not going in though.
So are we rolling over to Ice Palace at this point?
Yep, 4 items. Can get them all. It's not the prettiest trip in the world without that red cane, but Bomb Jump is still as effective as ever. Or did Skipsy not do Ice Ride Cave earlier?
Oh, yeah, did not. Good call on that. Because Skipsy was the one that SNQ'd out of Mini Molder. So gonna get a blue boomerang here?
I believe that's it, yeah. And now for Benteezy here, honestly, I'm not sure if progression in Turtle Rock would be good for or not, just based on that mirror, because anything he finds just pulls you further away from that mirror.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a double-edged sword as we pull a flute out of here. Okay, so we're gonna find out sooner rather than later if Quake's gonna be required for this seed at the very least.
Yeah, gonna have to wait for Benteezy to kill Trinex before we find that out, but we are gonna find out pretty soon after that.
Yeah, it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, and that just actually that pulls Benteezy. That actually might pull Benteezy towards the mushroom turn-in because you can flute right to 2 and do it. Pulls away, I think, from the flippers though, because that's the Smith chain. You don't really want to do that if you can go to Meyer instead.
Right. So at this point, I feel like we're gonna see Turtle Rock, and then the Desert Palace and Meyer.
Can't see Desert without that mirror unless the book shows up though.
Right. Sorry. Which actually, that would be really interesting. We'd be able to see everything but Swamp. But yeah, outside of that book showing up, we're sitting at being able to clear 2 more dungeons for Benteezy immediately, and then I guess kind of going from there.
Yeah, and I'm curious what this will do to the routing here because there are a few different things, a few different directions it could go. Like we could see Benteezy get last item flippers. That means go mode Swamp to save. Not a huge chunk of time because Skipsy saved or skipped left side, but still a solid amount.
It would also mean that Benteezy would not have to worry about even considering Ice Palace.
Yes. And Skipsy might be taking the vanilla route back here and running back to the waterfall. And also, actually, chat brings up a good point. There was an Ether Medallion at the Bonk Rocks. Skipsy did the little King's Tomb to Mushroom Turn-In route. Has not done Bonk Rocks yet. That's something that it may be a little while for him to get to.
And here is the Ice Palace place. We're going to get a lot of information.
The only information we'll be getting in ice immediately, though, is this check, and then a bit of a layover.
Yeah, that's a good point. We don't have Canis and Maria. Oh, nice green goo. Is that 4 bottles?
I think that's the 4th one we've seen, yeah. So, laser bridge here for Benteezy. The only thing that we could possibly need at this point is Quake. You know, the only thing that collectively we could need at this point. But even that's pretty unlikely to be required if we haven't seen it yet and if we don't see it here.
Yeah, at this point, it's we're sitting at a 1 in 3 for Meyer being quick. So possible, but not super likely.
Yeah, 1 in 3 is the worst case scenario, honestly.
Skipsy, you don't have the key, bud. Skipsy, you still don't have the key.
Yeah, he's gotta... It's one of those things... People try to put off Ice Palace without the Cane of Samaria so much that sometimes you just hear about people not practicing this and having lost their grasp on the finer details. Although if...
It's not low enough, is it? Yeah, no, you need to be lower.
And Skipsy can't do it, he's going to die. Unless he... Yeah, using the potion... Maybe using the potion? Using the fairy. Honestly, though, since we know that Quake is the only thing that bail him out here, I would have been interested to see if just failing the bomb jump pulled him away from Ice Palace and to where the progression is. Because, I mean, people say just go to where the progression is as a joke all the time, but in this case, it very marginally less of a joke.
I mean, unfortunately, when it comes to Rando, it's very much not a joke. Like, it can be said teasingly, but, I mean, how am I supposed to route it? Well, you're supposed to route it to where the progression is. And, I mean, it sounds snarky and generally unhelpful, but unfortunately, you can make all of the density plays correctly and still just completely have the seed destroying you. And you can make the other plays to where you try and go where the seed puts you and then still get destroyed too, depending on the seed. So it's really just up in the air.
Yep, that's just the randomizer for you. Benteezy gonna activate Flute here, and we know that the items Benteezy is missing are the mirror on the mushroom turn-in, which the Flute makes pretty appealing, and the flippers on the Smith turn-in, which mirror makes a little bit appealing, but probably not as much so as the minor area. But we're kind of at the point, like, Benteezy has full cleared the mountain. I think pretty much full cleared the overworld besides the north side of the world, the bonk rocks, the bumper ledge, the graveyard ledge. And it's just the dungeons not marked on the tracker. Nice little bombos there.
So kind of an amusing thing here is with that mushroom turn-in, we are not going to see a fake powder.
That is true. If we need the real powder, it will show up, though.
Yes.
Chat's asking the burning question right now, when will Benteezy do Smith Chain? If he does it before Meyer, he is potentially in go mode, with Meyer, Swamp, and Desert all still on the table. But that's not what it's looking like here. Mirror does at least mean he can check Desert, though, and has a little bit extra hedge against potential Quake shenanigans.
And intentionally not showing us that medallion there. Come on, man.
Yeah, just arrows and bombs. I mean, not sure what I was expecting, but it was pretty much that. And bombos. So that means that Skipsy needs to get his Red Cane out of Skullwoods, take that to Turtle Rock, get the Flute, and he will be in go mode. Meanwhile, Benteezy just needs to turn in the Smith to get the Flippers. Benteezy will be in go mode.
And the really fun part is that even though saying it like that, it sounds like Benteezy has quite a bit of a legitimate lead, Smith Chain is kind of tucked away. So it's up in the air at this point.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for Benteezy having the Turtle Rock full clear already. Going to be on 5 crystals quite shortly, going to be on 6 not long after that with Meyer. And then has already cleared out Skull Woods, has already done the front 4 of Thieves Town. Do you really pick Ice Palace, even Green Pendant to Ice with the Cane, over Smith Chain with Mirror and Flute?
I mean, I wouldn't, but everyone has their own personal set of preferences, and I haven't seen Benteezy route recently enough to kind of have an idea of what he prefers and doesn't prefer. So, although I could sit here and tell you that that's not something I would do, I would definitely do Smith Chain first.
Actually, chat's got an even better point. I didn't even think about flipper logic. You don't go to Ice Palace when you're hunting for flippers.
Oh yeah, there we go. It's like I'd mentioned before, because flippers are his go mode, you don't have to worry about it.
So the real question, do you choose the back of Thieves Town over the Smith Chain when you've already done the front 4?
Again, I'm thinking no, but I don't know. I'm in the commentary booth because, I'm in the commentary booth. So I would definitely do Smith Chain first, but I could also be someone who did Smith Chain first and then was wrong. So I don't know what Benteezy would do.
The nice thing about that specific layout, though, is you do the Smith, you grab the purple chest, you park the purple chest right outside of Thieves Town and do the back if you want to do it at all. Then when you kill blind or you mirror out, depending on where all the items are, your purple chest is still sitting there for you.
Is it still sitting there if you pull the maiden, though, or does that kind of reset it?
Actually, you're right. I didn't even think about the maiden. I was thinking the purple chest resets itself if you get a crystal, but doesn't if you get a pendant.
Oh, well, that's a piece of knowledge I was completely unfamiliar with. I was just thinking about it from the perspective of you have a follower and that might reset your.
Yeah, I was not considering that one at all, and I have no idea how that plays into it. But Skipsy is in Skull Woods here, about to get that red cane. And honestly, not very many places to take that red cane besides Turtle Rock. So might even save some time here, not going for the back of the dungeon, not killing the moth. But it's pretty close either way, I think. I think Benteezy probably still has a bit of an edge, but every second after doing this Meyer area that's not spent checking Smiths is giving time back to Skipsy at this point.
Yeah, and another point about that is that Meyer is one of those very variable dungeons in terms of how much does being able to go mode it save you. If this is a really early big key, and Benteezy doesn't end up... Benteezy forgetting that he's not playing Crossworld. I'm kidding. Benteezy just forgetting that, this isn't the Light World. But anyways.
D3. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, so if there's an early big key in Meyer, that's going to be a bit of time that Skipsy's going to save over Benteezy, because Benteezy's probably going to want to get both of those items.
Yeah, I could see Benteezy... Well, no, saving and quitting out of there. So Benteezy not choosing Meyer, is choosing the Mountain. Gonna flute though, I would imagine. Skipsy, super speed getting the best of him there. Okay, so Benteezy sword before making any more plays. I respect this.
Yeah, especially if you can get that glitch and go up the stairs that fast.
And then I guess, does he go to Meyer then? Or does he choose other checks?
I can't imagine that he's not going to go to Meyer. It's crystal number 6. In a perfect world, it gives you your progression and you can just keep right on moving.
Yeah, he wants to go to 6 there and just misclick went to 7.
I just saw that and I was like, what is it? There's nothing over there. I'm like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, just pressed A, very slightly too fast trying to mash over to 6. I mean, flute mashing is a fairly precise thing if you want to go to anything other than 1. So, yeah, actually, the way we're looking at this is basically Benteezy's going to full clear Mire here. Skipsy's going to full clear Turtle Rock. Turtle Rock should be a little bit slower, I think, unless Skipsy has to do cutscene chests, and maybe even then. Because Turtle Rock's just a long dungeon, and you cannot speed up these Samaria rooms. But after that, Skipsy's going to have to do the Mire Desert, which, again, the time of that depends on where the big key is, as you've said. Benteezy's got to get to the Smiths and go mode Swamp. So it's close. I'm trying to think whose position I would rather be in right now, just with all the knowledge.
I mean, I feel like if Benteezy is planning on doing Smith next, if Smith is the next thing on the list, yeah, see, there's a really early big key.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a bunch of save time for Skipsy, depending on where these items are. But I feel like if Benteezy's plan right now is I'm going to go do Smith next, I would rather be in Benteezy's position, as we're going to see a hover.
Benteezy is a silly, silly person. But, oh, no, he's giving up on it after getting just a couple pixels shy.
And that was super unfortunate, because he was right on it. He had that thing going just about all the way, and then... I think you already...
Gonna go for the boss first, though.
Gotcha. And again, that's not a bad play, because you're only one item away from go mode. Worst case scenario, you have to go do Mire 2 again, and Vitreous doesn't give you an item, and you have to basically full clear this dungeon. Best case scenario, Vitreous gives you go mode, you don't come back in here. Most likely case scenario, Vitreous perhaps gives you one of the 2 items, which means you have to clear less in terms of Mire rooms, but doesn't give you progression, so you're coming back in. So it's not a bad play. I wouldn't suggest it if you're more than like 1 or maybe 2 items from go mode, but if you're sitting as close as Benteezy is, absolutely just come back here and get it.
Yeah, and similar to stuff like Left Side Swamp, honestly, there's a bit of a case to be made for not going back in at all, especially if Vitreous drops an item. It's a gamble, but it's a valid one.
Benteezy having a little bit of a freak out there. Like setting up a spin and deciding not to, and then putting an arrow into the right wall, but it's fine. Everything's fine. And there's 1 item, so that's actually not bad. Because then Benteezy can make the choice to either skip the rest of Mire for just 1 item, or go back in, but know that you only have 1 item left to find.
Yep, and I think Skipsy, Chad's been talking about it for a little bit now, but he's playing this as if he's in go mode. Not worried about that Quake medallion, and frankly, at this point, with all you've checked and it hasn't shown up, and you did a full Ice Palace for nothing, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. The odds are in your favor. You're playing someone like Benteezy. Screw it, let's just go, you know?
Yep, and in a race, that's the sort of thing that sometimes you need to do to get an edge over an opponent. Like, that's not even a my opponent is better than me, I need to make up a gap somehow play. That's just, maybe I made a mistake that I need to make up somehow, or want to just get ahead of an opponent that I think is otherwise equal. Races do weird things to routing sometimes. This isn't even that weird, to be honest with you.
No, not really. On a list of gambles, this is about on par with skipping left side. Yeah, and there's a second item. So because of that, we're not going to see the cutscene chest from Benteezy, so it does save a bit of time.
Yep. Did have to spend a little bit of time checking that lobby chest for nothing, but that's not too bad. Now, is Benteezy flute to 3 here or anywhere else? I think Benteezy probably fine. He's going to turn in the Smith here, get the flippers, be in go mode, go straight to Swamp. So it's go mode Swamp Palace versus Godmire plus I don't remember where the big key was in Desert.
The middle chest. It was in the first chest you run across other than the torch. So it's going to be pretty quick either way. I do like Benteezy's positioning a little more right now, but I mean, GT routing is very much a thing.
Yeah, and it's looking to me like this race is very much, well, I say that. Benteezy's checking the cave south of the Grove first. Got to imagine he'll double back for the Smith after this.
I mean, this only makes it closer, to be fair. So,
yeah, but I think this race is very well in the realm of execution at this point and Ganon's tower routing, if there is a difference to be had there.
And yeah, like you said before, Benteezy definitely coming back up here. Go ahead and gonna go grab that Smith, and then we'll see go mode.
Yep. And again, we're looking at go mode Swamp versus Desert plus Scottmeyer, with Benteezy entering Swamp slightly late.
Skipsy probably feeling pretty good about basically go moding all of TR because the flute was super early after seeing that Bombos medallion sitting in Mire. That probably makes him feel a little better after having full cleared Ice Palace and not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, but Kane and Skull Woods, like the front of Skull Woods equals Overworld meme is alive and well.
Absolutely, but like you said before, you know, you're sitting in an overworld that has 3 checks and then 4 items in a pendant and 2 items in another pendant. So, I mean, I don't feel good about it, but at the same time, it's not a play that I, at least personally, would be beating myself up over not going to go do earlier, especially not when we had Eastern and Pod to go handle.
Yeah, it's just an oh crap, did my opponent do this sort of play.
Exactly. You feel bad because you have no idea what your opponent's done, not because looking back you feel like you made the wrong play.
Right, and I think that's absolutely something that needs to be said here, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's very hard to come up with a way to route this seed with the way the items were laid out. That doesn't make sense.
So yeah, Skipsy is headed to the back as Benteezy actually runs through this first set of rooms here. It's not going to be long. I mean, Go Mode Swamp is very fast.
Yep, but so is Desert. And the back of Mire, when we're already there, is not that long either. Especially with Skipsy having Spooky there.
Yeah, absolutely. If Skipsy can pull off Spooky okay, then everything will be fine. You know, that saves another 10 seconds, it feels like. It feels like it's about 20, but I think it's like 7.5.
I think, yeah, 7 to 10. Properly recognizing it didn't need it on the spike in the first room, just getting it off the anti-fairies here. Gonna get it off the torch. And one more room before Vitreous. And with only 5.5 hearts, I'm kind of curious what strats he'll go for, but that blue cane gives the game away.
Yeah, we're going to go with the let's not have to redo Mire, please and thank you strats.
Also known as the lag strats. But even with the lag, that's pretty quick still. Benteezy going for diver down here. I don't know. Does he got it? Doesn't look like it.
No, it doesn't look like it. It seems to be struggling on the down buffer. You're only supposed to go 1 pixel, and I feel like he is riding a struggle bus with that. There it is.
It goes. So at this point, back of Desert, it's not slow by any means, but it's definitely slow enough that Benteezy's going to be done with Swamp first, which I think we kind of knew.
Yes, but it's ended up being closer than at least I had anticipated. Like I would put Skipsy within a minute here at this point, depending on how well Benteezy's Argus fight goes.
Yeah, with Tempered Sword in hand on both sides, I'm thinking it's somewhere in the 60 to 90 second range.
Yeah, it might be closer to 90 seconds if Benteezy can pull. Yeah, that was really clean.
Yes. And yeah, that's Argus down.
Yeah, that happened a little faster than I was anticipating, honestly.
Yep, so 1:18:21-ish. Benteezy has 7 crystals.
So, I think there's a game we like to play, isn't there?
Is there? I don't know. I've never heard of it.
All right, well, I guess I'll go for it then. There are 22 locations in the basement of GT. One of those 22 wonderful locations contains our Ganos Tower Big Key. So go ahead and get your guests in chat by number 1 through 22. Where do you think that big key is going to be? No zeros, no negative numbers, no decimals, no fractions, and no unreal numbers, please and thank you. Reg, my friend, my wonderful Coco, what you got?
I think you know I like the number 10.
I mean, I know you like number 10, but I've been coming with you for like 2 years at this point. Like that's not. I don't.
Lots of people know I like the number 10, and that traditional routing puts that key in the rando room. Some strats put it in the compass room. Some strats put it in the Stalfos room.
I feel like there's
room.
I feel like there's enough strats that it could be just about anywhere at this point.
Yeah, but there's actually just not a coherent way to route the tower that doesn't put your 10th check in one of the 4 chest rooms.
See, if you hadn't said coherent, I'd probably try and come up with something for you. But you put that stipulation in there, and now I'm kind of handcuffed.
Meanwhile, Skipsy now on 7 crystals, about 75 to 80 seconds behind in grabbing the crystal.
All right, so I calmed a race yesterday, and that race was decided by GT routing, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna go for 22.
You just want them both to the last location of the damn thing?
Yep. Let's have some fun. You want to argue about what route's best? We'll stick it in the last one that's left.
Yeah, that is one way to just mostly neutralize the effect of GT routing. Looks like Benteezy's taking a left side first, presumably going to go to the Stalfos room, check it, get the small keys in there, and then mirror and go to the right side.
Yes, but this could also potentially be a full left play, which I don't see as much anymore, but is still there. And as Benteezy is a player who's been playing for a little bit longer, it wouldn't surprise me to see Benteezy go all the way to Ice Armors.
Nothing surprises me with GT routing anymore.
But no, he's going to mirror out. Yeah, I can tell after grabbing that third chest and heading over to the right-hand side and not killing any of those Stalfos, it was kind of obvious.
Yeah. And it's basically routing Ganon's tower is half crapshoot, half metagaming your opponent in a small race.
It so much is. It's such a weird combination of things because you have to walk in and be like, okay, am I ahead? Am I behind? Do I think I'm about on par? What do I think my opponent's going to do? It's a very confusing game of execution and rock, paper, scissors as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, but we did see Skipsy go Hope Room first. There was no key there, so Skipsy cannot follow Benteezy towards the compass room here. So if the key is not in this room, Skipsy suddenly has maybe not a lead, but very, very close.
Unless it's in Ice Armos and Benteezy goes straight that way.
No.
So unless Skipsy mirrors out after this, Skipsy will technically have a lead. Oh, GT
No, because Skipsy's killing the Stalfos here. Has to clear out the room. I think they will high five in the room though, with Benteezy being just a little bit ahead of it.
That's a good point. I hadn't even considered that at the time. Good call.
Yeah, so Benteezy like a room ahead of you. And there it is.
Oh, never mind.
So
Skipsy, please.
Check number 12, I believe.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
4,
6.
4, 2, and 1.
Yeah, sounds right. Wait. Yeah, because, yep. I forgot about torch there for a second. I was like, wait, how's that an even number? Like, yeah, you are correct.
Yep, and that is, I'm going to butcher this, but How Ryan 999 was the one to guess, and got internet points. So while these guys kill mimics, Hammer, tell me what's more valuable: SRL points, Who's Line points, or Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game points? Which of the three?
Well, I'm going to say the Who's Line points are probably the least valuable because he does tell you at the beginning of every show the points don't matter. And if he's driving that home as much as he can, then they must really, truly be useless. Not very many people use SRL at this point, so I think I'm going to have to go with our points. I think our points are the most valuable. Not that I'm biased at all. I'm just trying to logic my way through it, you know?
I'll accept that.
Well, I'm sure
I'll
he
have to
will.
modify the question for next time, but I'll accept it. I mean, let's be honest here. Race time GG points are basically just New Age SRL points.
That's fair, but racetime.gg is also in use right now.
And as chat is reminding us here, this is actually the first game of a doubleheader between these two. So there will be second game immediately afterwards. Stick around.
I don't know that I want to play a second game after this first one. I'm not gonna lie.
It wasn't that bad, and it made for an exciting race. I mean, it's still...
Absolutely.
Skipsy is what, 3 rooms behind at this point?
Not enough for any sort of comfort, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, this is like, if you screw up AGA 2 for 2 extra cycles, then suddenly I think that's a lead change.
Yeah, basically. Or just like, even not getting a 1-1 for Ganon could hurt quite a bit. Especially if there's like a phase 2 mishap. If you do 2 cycles on phase 2, that's a lot of time.
Yeah, a fall especially, but even just something in the realm of a less than clean first couple phases would be a big deal if Skipsy is clean on them. But Skipsy going for lamp strats instead of fire rod strats in these torches is giving up precious seconds for that. And yeah, Benteezy just playing better, pulling ahead here.
I feel like this might be a situation where Benteezy's experience is helping him out. Benteezy, as we mentioned before, someone who's been playing Rando for quite a bit. And it seems to me like as this has come to a close, Skipsy a little more hesitant with movements than Benteezy has been going up the gauntlet.
Yep, and that's putting Benteezy... Actually, it's not as big of a gap as I think it may have looked a few rooms ago, but Benteezy already in AGA 2, Skipsy having to wait on Moldorm to explode. What is that AGA 2 pattern?
That's an unfortunate only 1 hit is what that is. Oh, okay, so you said something about messing up AGA 2. And I'm not saying these patterns are easy, but...
I'm saying these patterns are nonsense. But that's an easy triple from Benteezy to close out the fight. But Skipsy getting a 0 on the first one. Gonna need to get hits here to keep on pace. No, double 0 for Skipsy. So Benteezy's AGA fight, not ideal by any means, but Skipsy, 3 cycles in, still hasn't hit one. That feels bad.
And I'm pretty sure that was only a double there, so I think we're still only at 4. Although this one looks not nearly as bad. There we go.
Yep. So Benteezy into the Ganon fight. That's the Trident spin right there. Should be good for one cycle phase 1 with that. Then I think phase 2 here, going for the dash strats. Gonna dodge the fire bats from inside the circle here. And we'll see how that goes.
Dash strats are a situation where, like, it looks somewhat difficult, but it doesn't look like it's that hard. As someone who's tried dash strats, the timing is freaking impossible. You have to be right on it. And that doesn't even include having to dodge all of those bats from the inside. You have to know the timing.
Yeah, but Benteezy got it. Skipsy's got it for phase 1, it looks like, with that Trident spin. Benteezy already on to phase 4, but I just noticed Benteezy's magic meter. I think he's got a potion, so no real concern there.
Yeah, I want to say they both have the green available at the very least. Nice fire rod. Man, that glitch is so hard to do with a fire rod. Good timing.
Yeah, like, with experience, it's not as hard as it looks, but it is by no means free.
And yeah, Benteezy popping a goo here, having a full magic, and now it's time to just line up the triples.
Yep, Benteezy just going to town here. Though that worked not favorable at all, but and he can't get the spin off it.
That's really hard to get there, even with Fire Rod, because you just have to, like, slowly meander your way over there with the sword out.
Now, Skipsy into phase 4 as well here. Significantly behind, though, but Benteezy missing a couple spins here and there. That's not helping, but that is 12.
And the final boss being a 1x3 bridge here for Benteezy. Once he crosses that, you can go ahead and get your GGs in chat.
Yep, that is Benteezy across the bridge with a time of 1:29.56. Skipsy in phase 4 here, not far behind.
And getting some friendlier patterns, honestly. Ganon not being over on the far side for the torchlight. So, I'm not saying the triples are easy by any stretch, because they are not, but not having to transverse the entire battlefield to get them. And that was super clean.
Yeah, I think Skipsy had the better Ganon fight there, but just not enough to overturn the race.
Yeah, I think Skipsy definitely did get a couple seconds there, but lost, I want to say, 2 cycles on Aga.
Yeah, and that is Skipsy across the bridge with a time of 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 17 seconds. And as we said, this is game 1 of a doubleheader between these two runners, so they will not be joining us to talk about the seed.
I feel like they don't need to at that point. I feel like the seed spoke for itself. 21 seconds. Different go mode items, different dungeons go moded, different routing entirely. That was a seed. I feel like I don't even need to say anything other than, hey, just stay tuned. Why stay tuned? I mean, look at this race.
Yep. Unfortunately, we won't be sticking around to call game 2. Let me check the schedule real quick. Yeah, calling game 2, we're going to have Homemade Beer and Tiverius jumping on the mic. And then just to cover the schedule for the rest of the night, we've got a Kern versus TJ Maelstrom on ALTTP Randomizer starting in about 25 minutes at 8:10 p.m. Eastern. In about an hour and 25, we've got F. Coughlin versus In the Name of DT on SpeedGaming. Then the nightcap, 11:40 p.m. Eastern on SpeedGaming, we've got Pika Pals versus CS Tutor. So obviously, game 2 of this promises to be very nice. At least in terms of, we just saw a 20-second difference here. Runners are jumping right into it. I'm hoping game 2 lives up.
Yeah, same here. I'm hoping that neither of them is going to suffer too much fatigue from that, because it is really difficult running a back-to-back. And it's really easy to have rando bleed over, where you grab an item and then your brain kind of goes, yeah, I already checked the mushroom, I don't have to worry about it. And then if the mushroom has something, obviously, you thought, because you're remembering the turn-in from last game, and it can definitely mess with you.
Yes, it's a difficult game even without that, but just throwing that factor on is just props to the runners for being willing and able to do that to begin with, because, like you said, not easy.
Yeah, and honestly, all things considered, hard mode not being too mean to our runners today. We still got a decent amount of hearts early. The tempered sword was fairly readily available. Silver's obviously not being a thing, but as you can see by the silverless cannon from both of our runners, I don't think that's too much of a problem. And then Cane of Burna being early enough that we could use that on Vidi to make up for the lack of silver. So no, it honestly wasn't that bad. I've definitely seen worse.
Yep. Of course, the way the item pool works with all the items still being placed, the hard mode affects the end game a lot more than the early game. Armor aside. But
that's fair. I've definitely seen some seeds, though, where you end up walking into the Dark World with like 4 hearts, and you've already seen like a big 20 or 2, and a green 20, and you're just kind of sitting there like, these 4 hearts would be great if I had a male upgrade.
yeah, sometimes that does happen. Anyways, like we said, Game 2 is coming up. Stay tuned. It should start, I believe, within 10 to 12 minutes. So I think, you got anything more you want to discuss on this, Hammer, or are we just going to wrap it up and hand it off, get ready, settle in for Game 2?
I don't have much. As per usual, I would like to thank our wonderful button pusher, Iceman, keeping us honest, keeping us caught up with the tracker, because I'm going to be honest, if I didn't have trackers sitting below these races, I'd have a heck of a time trying to keep stuff up. I might honestly, if we didn't have a tracker, I might honestly have a sheet in front of me and have to just mark stuff off myself, because it's really easy to lose track of it. So shout out to them. As always, dude, shout out to you. I love common with you. So Reg, one of my favorite people to com with. It was a blast, as per usual. That's pretty much all I've got. Reg's giving you the schedule. You know you've got a game coming up right after this. Definitely follow the SpeedGaming set of channels, because they do a lot of stuff from Zelda to pretty much everything else under the sun. That's all I've got, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off as Hammer Bro, and I'm going to let you take us home, Reg.
Yep, and of course, got to shout out the runners here. Their links are in Twitch chat. They're just twitch.tv, and then the names you see on the boxes, twitch.tv/Benteezy, twitch.tv/Skipsy. And we wouldn't have any of this without them. Absolutely awesome people. So that will be it for us. But again, stick around. Game 2 coming up immediately after if you're watching this live. Later, everybody.